information matter. That's the appointment to the Town Gown Committee. We will deal with that at the end of General Committee after the public session is completed. The first public item that was held is the City Council bump-up request for site plan approval for the South Barrie Secondary School, 225 Prince William Way in Ward 10. That was held by Councillor McCann. Councillor McCann, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Lehman. So is this thing on, or?
We can't hear it in the room. They can only hear it at home.
Oh,
so.
Gotcha. Well,
and did you want to put the item on the floor as printed, or did you have a different motion?
As printed, I have a comment too.
Okay, so the item is on the floor as printed?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead with your comments.
So we really need to get this school built in Ward 10, and we need to get this done fast. The Simcoe School Board is the first builder in the annexed lands. And just to put this into perspective, the new annexed lands up by Prince William Way and Mapleview are the size of Aurelia. And so we're building a city within a city. And I've thought about this long and hard about the decision to make tonight. And I really feel that the school board has really put the city of Barrie and the residents of Barrie in a tricky situation. The reason why is that 4 or 5 years ago, City Council and staff and specialists in planning put together a plan that they wanted to see how the vision of the new annexed land, Hewitt's Creek secondary plan is going to look like. And this is the first application going forward, and the first applicant, even though it is the school board, and we definitely want a school in our ward, I feel that they're changing the game. And we need to stick to the plan, we need to stick to procedures, and we need to stick to policies. So my decision today is going to agree with city staff and deny the application for the school board to put the school in the south corner of their building, of their lot. I also want to say to you, to the school board and to the residents, that I'll do everything in my power to help this process go fast. I want to help, and I know that I've got the backing of City Council and the backing of city staff, that we all want the school here done. And it's nice to maybe look on a side note and put the school in faster, but I don't think faster is right. I think that we need to look at this plan in a big picture, and we need to look at the future. And I believe the future is going to be best suited to have the school in the north side, not in the south side, like the school board would like to have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor McCann. Councillor Khan.
Thanks, Mayor Lehman. And thank you, Councillor McCann. Obviously, this is your ward and this is your area. And as most members of the committee would know, we had the infrastructure meeting back June 23rd, I think the number is, the date was, and it was quite an in-depth presentation and a lively report. It was good to review the report once more since we've been off for a few weeks, and I also acknowledge receiving the recent correspondence from the school board. You know, wholly I was looking for the change. I was looking for what's transpired over the last 2 months. I was looking for the progress. I was looking for where the minds had gotten together to look for the solution. I don't see it, Mayor Lehman. I don't see the solution being presented. I see justification for trying to ram through the exact same thing. So without, trying to remain as neutral as possible on it while not compromising the integrity of staff's recommendation and the policy of how a well thought out, well executed site should look. I looked for areas of where we could work together and where we could find some common ground, so to speak. And again, all I can really state is that I don't see the effort was made on the part of the applicant to do anything more than justify it. So I highlighted a couple of points, Mayor Lehman, and I think really it was once again justified by also the third parties who came in, the professional planners who came in and spoke, as well as provided commentary to this, and acknowledging that topography itself alone is not a reason not to do this. Really what I would come up with, Mayor Lehman, is that the school board's known about the scenario in their own words back to 2011. If you look at the paragraph on the history of the application or the file itself, we're going back to 2011. So to hold it over the city's head, to suggest that we're looking at $1 million consultant's impact alone, as well as potentially 5 months in terms of grading and time, it's not our problem. 5 months is not an issue. If you go back to 2011, you'd be well within, you'd have lots of time left over to have planned this right from the get-go. So that hasn't been done, Mayor Lehman. And really, when looking at the justification document or letter from the school board outlining as to why it won't fit with the users and the students who might be utilizing the school, plain and simple, there aren't going to be any students there if nobody buys those houses. And if nobody buys those houses, the children or the students who don't live in those houses won't be going to that school, and that's because a savvy investor or a savvy resident isn't going to buy a home that has portables sitting on their fence line. And we talked about that in the Development Services meeting. We talked about the location of the parking lot. We talked about the location of where the already expected portables are going to be lined up, and they're going to be lined up on the fence line of the rear yard of the homes that would be built surrounding the school site. Residents don't want that. They won't want that. And you know, traffic, whether it's at 6 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night for after hours activities, plus the invitation to anybody who's sort of wandering around looking for a place to hang out after hours in the dark. School parking lots are often the ideal location, and that's going to be again in the backyards of the residents who won't be buying the homes there because they don't like the way the design is. So on top of that, we're talking about busing, we're talking about access to the students. It won't just be the sort of the L-shaped school residents around the school site. I can only anticipate that public transportation will be used for high school age students, and having buses running along Mapleview to the intersection will certainly make access to and from transportation that much more of an intelligent design for transportation to be right at the corner of Mapleview. I got a long list, Mayor Lehman. I think really what I want to do is to once more highlight the fact that it was referenced in the letter that the ideal of the planning policy was adhered to. I think the word back in June was the spirit of the city's policy was adhered to. I don't see a single element that was even really taken into consideration. I think by definition, Mayor Lehman, by definition, taking that spirit is not the same as, you know, really what this is ignoring it. It's not taking into consideration. It's ultimately ignoring the entire policy. And for that reason, Mayor Lehman, I can't and therefore won't support the school board's application, and I will support the recommendation to deny the application.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Khan. Other comments, members of the General Committee? I suppose I'll offer a few. I don't know if there are others who do want to comment. So just sort of stepping back from the application for a second to the broader context here. The Hewitts Creek secondary plan, the planning for the annex lands, is a 5-year process. This is the result of 5 years of land use planning. It was an unprecedented planning effort in the city and dare I say in the county. Our engagement ran to thousands of individuals attending meetings over the course of several years to develop the policies and the plans that ultimately form these two plans for the secondary plan area, the Hewitts Creek and the Salem secondary plan. Those processes were very public, and all members of council who were on the previous council remember the updates, the principles, the approach to neighborhood building, the mistakes we have seen in the past that we wanted to not make again this time, the effort to achieve a better quality of neighborhood building. And all of that process resulted in the Hewitts Creek secondary plan and the Salem secondary plan that was brought forward for council. In addition to that, as members of the previous council will remember, urban design guidelines were developed and brought forward to help shape development in the city of Barrie. And all of these things were very, very public processes. They involved everything from open houses to council meetings in the chambers and so forth over the course of many years. And what came out of that was our vision for the annexed lands being laid out in very detailed policies which are intended to guide the development community, who could then come forward and build neighborhoods that worked well together, avoid some of the mistakes of the past that we've seen around the city and that lots of people in Barrie tell us about, and those plans should not be a surprise to anybody. They were very, very public, and so the school board came forward and wanted to build in advance of any other development in the Hewitts Creek lands. They wanted to build their school. The road along the side of the site does not exist yet. Mapleview obviously exists on the north side. There's a road to the south to be built and so forth. And I would note that our staff moved extremely quickly, recognizing that the board had time constraints. And I think the chronologies that have been offered of this demonstrate frequent meetings, ongoing efforts, and there have been issues which have been resolved over the course of the last year in terms of site plan. But, to give you a sense of how unprecedented this is, we were doing pre-consultation on lands that literally had just come into the ownership of the board, and there were early discussions before the lands were even owned by the school board. So, the effort here was from a very, very early date. Staff provided this comment originally verbally at a meeting in January, then formally in response to the site plan pre-consultation in March. And the reality is, if the change had been made, we would be at the building permit stage for this school. If the change had been made at that time, we would be through the site plan process, and we would be talking about or watching the initial work on this site. And what happened with this site plan? Of course, the landowners objected. Our staff, the landowners objected because they don't feel it is in alignment with the plans for the neighborhood that have been developed through that collaborative process over years and years. Our staff are giving us their expert opinion that says this does not conform to our policies. And, I have heard some comments that this development application needs to be treated differently because it's a school and because the applicant is the school board. And while the school is very important to this city, respectfully, the school board has to go through the same process and be subject to the same policies as any other developer. And, I can't really accept an argument that says after 5 years of planning, after a public process that developed these policies, which are not a surprise to anybody, that when an application comes in that doesn't conform to it, we should have to approve it. The policies are there for a very, very good reason. They are designed to build better neighborhoods. And the reasons for the relocation of the school to the north end of the site are laid out in our staff report here. Our staff have been very, very clear about their recommendation and strongly recommending against the alternative of permitting the school to occur on the site where it's proposed. And if there's any question about policy, it is all laid out in appendix, I think it's D of the staff report, which goes through our official plan policies, which are in force and effect, and the Hewitts Creek secondary plan policies, which, while at the OMB, and I would note the board is one of the appellants who appealed this secondary plan, the Hewitts secondary plan has been the result of, as I said, 5 years of planning process. So after all of that, what we need is the school board to come to the table, be good community members, support the development of better neighborhoods, and build a school that is in line with the policies that have been laid out for years. And I think it's very, very unfortunate. We have landowners, we have staff, and we have members of the public, all who have supported these policies. And here we are today. And this one major issue, which was identified at the beginning of the year, could have been dealt with, and we'd be talking about how we're going to manage building the school together. Because frankly, that ultimately is what should have happened here. The city needs a South Secondary School. The funding's been granted. That's a great thing. I even like the design of the school in its appearance and many aspects of the site plan. But to ask us to compromise 5 years of planning because of the board is in a hurry is not acceptable. And the policy rationale should not come as a surprise to anybody. It should not come as a surprise, I don't think, that our staff are strongly recommending that we deny this application. So I'm certainly in support of denying the application. If there are any other comments, members of the General Committee, now's the time. Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. The motion is on the floor as printed. Those in favor of the motion as printed? Are any opposed? None. Passes unanimously. Separate report's been requested. So for those who are here on the school matter, Council General Committee has denied the application. That decision will go forward to City Council for final approval next week at this time.